Magical places of wonder and mystery. The world is a beautiful place with many amazing places to explore. Join me for today's video as we take a look at 15 of the most magical places on Earth. Number 15. Victoria Falls. Zambia is home to one of the most breathtaking places in the world, Victoria Falls. The falls run along the Zambezi River, and it's about twice as wide and twice as deep as Niagara Falls, spanning about 5,500 feet across at its widest point, making it one of the widest waterfalls in the world. And you better not look down, because the river leading to the falls gives way to a drop of around 335 feet. The water flows about 33,000 cubic meters per second, so not even the best swimmers in the world can beat out the waters of Victoria Falls. But the falls also gives way to what's known as the smoke that thunders, which is the high veil of mist that creates some pretty awesome rainbows down below. The top lip of the falls here is split into multiple islands and basins, all of which help to give Victoria Falls its magical look. But despite the rushing waters, there's one area that is, believe it or not, safe to swim in. The area of Victoria Falls, known as the Devil's Pool, is a 150-foot deep natural pool formed by thousands of years of erosion, which created the perfect edge to keep waders safe from that massive drop. Number 14. Marble Cathedral. Head over to Chile to see the Marble Cathedral, a series of marble caves in Cuevas de Marmol, which is only accessible by boat. This epic natural wonder is the product of more than 6,000 years of erosion caused by waves beating against the rock day in and day out. Found on Lake General Carrera, the otherworldly and perfectly smooth rock beautifully reflects seafoam green water, sapphire blues, and has a frosty gray finish. When you visit the Marble Cathedral, it's hard to believe that they weren't man-made, but believe it, they're all natural. And they even change colors during the year to reflect the water levels and sunlight. In the spring, the walls take on a more turquoise hue, while in the summer months, as the glaciers melt and sea levels rise, they reflect a deeper shade of blue. The walls essentially provide a blank canvas for some amazing natural artwork. But to add to the mystery and mysticism of the caves, from the outside they're incredibly unassuming, and it isn't until you venture inside the real magic happens. Save up your money though, because one visit to the Marble Cathedral in Chile is obviously not enough. Number 13. Giethoorn, Netherlands. Sitting along the Dutch canals is the small town of Giethoorn. Probably known best for its beautiful and quaint thatched roof farmhouses, Giethoorn looks more like a storybook come to life. The town itself is made of tiny islands along almost 100 kilometers of canals, with over 150 small wooden bridges joining them together. Seeing as how there are no roads, the beautiful town of Giethoorn is best explored by a small boat or kayak. Often called the Venice of the Netherlands, the tiny islands were formed by peat, which is similar to soil but made by decayed organic materials. Farmers harvested the peat, which created the islands, and that's where they decided to build their homes. Today, tours are given via traditional punter boats throughout the canals, which are also lined with plenty of cafes, offering gorgeous views of this real-life fairy tale. And although this place doesn't quite feel real when you get there, you better believe that it very much is a lived-in place. Just imagine stepping outside your front door every morning with your coffee, only to be greeted by these storybook canals. Number 12. Tianzi Mountains. The Tianzi Mountains in China offer a type of majestic beauty that can only be described as otherworldly. And that's fitting, because the mountain range served as an inspiration for the alien settings in James Cameron's hit movie Avatar. Some of the peaks reach heights of 4,100 feet and are so tall they sit high amongst the clouds. The entire landscape is about 21 square miles inside the Wulingyuan Scenic Area of the Zhangjiajie National Forest Park in Hunan Province. Truly one of the most unique places on Earth, the ledges of the mountains capture soil, which allows trees and foliage to grow on the mountain peaks. And to make things even more epic, the Tianzi Mountains are nearly 400 million years old. These mountains are even considered to be a sacred place. Many local people and artifacts have been discovered in 2014, which were used as part of burial rituals beneath the stellar formations. As you can imagine, the mountain range is incredibly popular with tourists and is best visited after heavy rain, when thick mists form around the peaks, making you feel like you're on the planet of Pandora. Number 11. Antelope Canyon. The Antelope Canyon in Arizona has been around since the dawn of time, but millions of years of erosion have made it what it is today. Perhaps one of the most Instagram-worthy places in the world, it truly is a sight to behold. The Sandstone Canyon sits 120 feet above the seabed, with hues of red and yellow throughout the narrow and winding passage. When you come here, it's easy to feel like you're on another planet, especially when the sunlight beams through. The canyon was given its name because of the pronghorn antelope that once roamed the area, and the Navajo people from the area named it the place where water runs through rocks. Luckily, this natural wonder of the world is owned and protected by members of the Navajo Nation, who ensure that Antelope Canyon will endure the test of time. Number 10. Cano Cristales River, Colombia. The Cano Cristales River in central Colombia is 100 kilometers long and was once inaccessible due to years of violent conflict in that area. But today the region is controlled by the Colombian military, who have opened it up for locals and tourists alike. But what makes this river so special and well known other than its turbulent history? Well, during certain months of the year, the Macarenia clavigera plants that line the bottom of the river will bloom. Anyone visiting the river during this time is treated to gorgeous, vibrant shades of red, blue, orange, green, and yellow underneath the crystal clear water. The Cano Cristales River is the only place on Earth where this type of bloom happens, making it a one-of-a-kind destination and quite possibly the most beautiful river in the world. And while there are plenty of guided boat tours on the river, it is possible for the more adventurous traveler to visit on their own. Number 9. Painted Hills. The west coast of the United States is known for having some pretty spectacular scenery, but the state of Oregon really manages to stand out with its diverse environment. Oregon's Painted Hills is in a class of its own, only accessible by car. As soon as you pull in here, you think that you've stepped out of a spaceship and landed on Mars, because otherworldly is the only word to describe this place. This place is old, like 35 million years old. This ancient river floodplain was once home to all sorts of tropical flora and fauna, and all that remains are the gorgeous multicolored hills. You're treated to blacks, yellows, purples, and the striking red colors of the Painted Hills that are especially beautiful right at sunset. And the colors will even change depending on the weather and moisture in the air, meaning this place is worth multiple visits. In the spring, you can see all of the yellow wildflowers bloom, and then in the winter, the white blankets of snow cover this Martian world. The Painted Hills have changed colors as the Earth's climate slowly changed over millennia, which means it's likely that as time passes and new generations come to appreciate the hills, the colors will have changed even more. Number 8. Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. Perhaps better known as the Wave, the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument in Arizona looks more like an art project than a force of nature. But that's what erosion and seismic activity will do to a place. The Vermilion Cliffs' claim to fame are the smooth, wave-like rocks and the reddish hues that can change color throughout the day as the sun passes over the sandstone rocks. Believe it or not, the formation is pretty fragile, and the Bureau of Land Management that protects it holds a daily lottery to give away just 10 tickets a day at the nearby visitor center in order to maintain the monument for as long as humanly possible. Coupled with the fact that it's incredibly hard and treacherous to reach, human contact with the Vermilion Cliffs is really kept to the bare minimum. And if you want to visit the breathtaking locale, get ready to throw your name into the hat 4 months in advance. And you can't even get a map of the area unless you're one of these lucky few who have been selected. Although making a place more exclusive can add to its mystique, the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument doesn't need extra press to garner their much-deserved attention. Number 7. Humble Administrator's Garden. Despite the name, the Humble Administrator's Garden in Suzhou, China is anything but. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, this garden is 13 acres and was built during the Shaoxing period about 1,000 years ago, so it's safe to say that it's got some historical significance. Over the centuries, dynasties rose and fell, and the site that the garden sits on changed hands more times than anyone can count, and was even destroyed on numerous occasions. But with every restoration, more was added until finally in 1949, the Chinese government opened the gardens to the public. Today, the Humble Administrator's Garden is a series of small islands all connected by bridges across vast, serene, and beautiful ponds where you can reflect in more ways than one. In fact, 1/3 of the 5.5-acre area is covered in water. The ponds are surrounded by hills and thick, lush trees that are meant to recreate the scenery of the Ming Dynasty. Overall, everything is simplistic and nothing is random here. Number 6. Harbin International Ice and Snow Sculpture Festival. Just when you thought you were a good artist, the structures of this winter wonderland will make you sign up for those art classes again. The annual Harbin International Ice and Snow Sculpture Festival happens every December in Heilongjiang and is the largest ice and snow festival in the world. About 18 million people brave the freezing cold temperatures to come and see the event each year. The winter winds coming from Siberia allow the sculptures to stay in place for quite a long amount of time. But you won't be looking at rows and rows of snowmen here. No way. The festival has been home to giant icy Buddhas, sphinxes, and vast cityscapes all lit up with lights of blue, yellow, red, and green that you won't find anywhere else in the world. And to make things even more exciting, there's a new theme each year to keep people coming back. So if you don't have any Christmas plans this year, maybe consider taking a trip to the Harbin International Ice and Snow Sculpture Festival for a serious one-of-a-kind gift. Number 5. Castelluccio, Italy. Located in central Italy, Castelluccio is another hilltop town that sits about 5,000 feet above sea level with sweeping views. Surrounded by the Sibillini Mountains, Castelluccio is known for growing lentils and blooming poppy fields every summer. Around July, the land is covered with shades of green, red, and violet as far as the eye can see. The best views without a doubt come from the top down, and it's a sight that can't be found anywhere else. Sure, there may be plenty of gorgeous blooms in the world, but none of them can quite compare to the one in Castelluccio, a town where you'll feel like you've got the place to yourself. Castelluccio is home to less than 150 people, but of course, plenty of visitors come to see the bloom. It was nearly destroyed in 2016 by an earthquake, but not to worry, because many of its residents remained to help rebuild and keep things running for visitors. The hills of Castelluccio may be the perfect place to live out your Sound of Music fantasies, especially during the bloom. Number 4. Rothenburg ob der Tauber, Germany. The word picturesque doesn't even come close when talking about Rothenburg ob der Tauber in Germany. Found along the aptly named Romantic Road, Rothenburg ob der Tauber is one of the oldest towns along the way, and it traces its history back to medieval times. Like many other old towns in Europe, it was built as a fortress above the river Tauber. Rothenburg ob der Tauber certainly was involved in plenty of wars and battles throughout history, but today it's an incredibly quaint, serene, and beautiful town, especially during the snowfalls of winter, where you'll feel like you've been transported to a Disney movie. One of Rothenburg ob der Tauber's main attractions is the 14th century Church of St. Jakob. The church's altar was hand-carved from wood in the late 1500s and is still one of Germany's most prized pieces of wood carvings to date. Number 3. The Red Beach. Beaches may not be synonymous with China, but one wetland in particular will have you feeling like you finally made it to another planet. Dahua County is home to the largest wetland area in the world, and the Red Beach gets its name from the rare and lush bright red vegetation that grows there. The flora here is a form of what's known as Chenopodium, and is able to grow here especially because of the alkaline soil in the area. But this fantasy marsh is also home to another rare species, the red-crowned crane, which is why many locals will also call the beach the home of the cranes. The red-crowned crane is also a symbol of luck, longevity, and fidelity, so seeing one amongst the gorgeous red plants is a real treat for anybody. The ecosystem here is delicate, which is why it's protected by the Chinese government, but tourists and locals alike can enjoy the one-of-a-kind scenery via wooden walkways. Number 2. Waitomo Glowworm Caves. Found in New Zealand, the Waitomo Glowworm Caves feel more like a dream than they do a natural wonder. Waitomo roughly translates from the Maori language as water hole or water entrance, and although these caves have been open to the public since 1889, the indigenous Maori have known about it for much longer. But the big draw is the thousands of glowworms residing on the cave walls, making for what is easily one of the most magical sights in the world. When inside, it's easy to forget that you're in a dark cave instead of looking at the night sky above. To add to the dreamlike experience, the only way to access and explore the caves is via a gondola tour, so you can quietly drift along the water and soak in a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Awesome. Number 1. Iguazu Falls. The final entry on our list is going to bring everything full circle. We began with a series of waterfalls and will end with another one. The epic natural waterfall, the Iguazu Falls, is so large that it spans across Brazil and Argentina, drawing over 1 million visitors a year. If you can believe it, this fairy tale destination is made up of 275 waterfalls and cataracts. And the number can change depending on the season, meaning this is another wonder that demands more than one visit. The tallest waterfall here is called the Devil's Throat and has a drop of more than 80 meters into a permanent torrent of white mist. In total, the Iguazu Falls are about twice as tall and 3 times wider than Niagara Falls in North America. So how much water is flowing through the falls? Well, on average, about 1,500 cubic meters flows through the system every second. And in the rainy seasons, it can reach up to 13,000 cubic meters per second. It's enough water to fill 5 Olympic swimming pools in the blink of an eye. The Iguazu Falls became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984 and were selected as one of the winners of the new 7 Wonders of Nature competition in 2011. The falls give new meaning to the words majestic and awe-inspiring and will leave even the most jaded world travelers with their jaws on the floor. Watch our nature playlist for more top 15 videos about beautiful nature. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best nature videos.